Are you looking to build a successful, scalable business? Well, there are 4 key things that you need to know. I call them my 4S freedom framework. And these elements are essential for any business who has the goal of looking to grow, looking to expand, and really looking to impact your lifestyle. These things can make the difference between being a struggling startup and a thriving, profitable empire. And in this video, we will dive into the aha moment that I had in my life when I first learned about these 4 things, and we'll talk about each of them in detail. We'll explore how they kind of work together, but most importantly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and when I really came to grips with why I needed these 4 things and why, when mastering these 4 things, it will 100% change your entrepreneurial journey in a flash. So, let's get to work. Okay, so let's start with my aha moment. And the moment in my entrepreneurial journey when I learned about these 4 things. And it is a pretty up story, y'all. So bear with me and hold on tight. I don't even know if I can do this.
Do it! Just do it!
All right, let me go. I was sitting on the floor in my living room inside of an apartment that I had rented with my soon-to-be ex-husband at the time. And my 2-year-old was laying upstairs napping in one of the only beds in the entire apartment. And I was sitting on the floor because I didn't have any furniture. My soon-to-be ex-husband, now currently ex-husband, and I were going through a pretty tumultuous relationship breakup. And it was, really devastating to have that experience. I mean, there was so much going on that triggered that breakup. Really, the biggest thing was I found out that he had been cheating on me. And had been cheating on me with someone that was very, very, very close to me in my life. Someone that I trusted, someone that I believed would always have my back. And that cheating created a dynamic in our relationship that I thought that I would be able to overcome. Like, I literally thought that I would be able to forgive him. I thought, well, you're his wife, and being married is different than just dating someone or being someone's girlfriend. So you're supposed to work through things like that. And I tried, y'all. I tried. I really did. And I think that was when I realized that I'm not a you can cheat on me and we can get back together kind of girl, because I literally will never trust you again. And that is really what we were dealing with. And if I can't trust you, then I can't be vulnerable with you. I don't feel safe with you. Safety in relationships is paramount for me. And if I'm with you and I get some kind of inkling that you aren't good at keeping me safe in every way, physically, emotionally, if I can't feel safe with you in those 2 ways, then we have no chance of having any kind of a future, because I'm a strong personality type, and feeling safe allows me to really function in my feminine energy, if you know what I'm saying. And we had gotten to the point where I just did not feel safe emotionally with him. And then what really killed the whole thing was a few days before the big fight where I was sitting in my living room on the floor. I didn't feel safe physically any longer as well. We had a huge knockout, drag out, fight that turned physical. And so I'm sitting on my living room floor. Now, mind you, I had been an entrepreneur for a couple of years, legit. I'd been a legit entrepreneur for a couple of years, let me be specific. For about 3 years before that, I had a business that I really didn't treat as a business. And I know I've talked about this before. If you are a CP insider, you've heard kind of my whole story. And I hadn't been treating my business before then as a legit business, but I had still been building relationships. So even though I was kind of like freelancing and doing it on the side, and I lived overseas for a while and was kind of like building a business there, but not really treating it as a business, I came back home and still had those skills and those relationships. So from that experience, I learned I'm going to start a business, and an official business, because I need to be legit. We, started a family. I knew I needed to be present. I didn't want my son in a daycare center. Immediately. I wanted to give him a couple of years before I would take him to daycare. So I needed something that meant that I could use my skills, make good money, and have my own schedule and freedom and flexibility, because I was a new mom. And so I had started this business legit. But I started it in such a way that my ex-husband was really intricately kind of involved in all of it, except he wasn't involved in any of it. He didn't sell anything, he didn't do anything, he didn't deliver any of the services, it was all me. I just thought because we were married that I was supposed to put him on the paperwork. I didn't realize that if I used money to start the business and register it out of our joint personal bank account or whatever, that he was entitled to it. And so the day that I was sitting on the floor in the living room, to make a long story short, he had made it very, very clear that we were done, which thank God, because I already knew he was done. I'm the one who said we was done. But that he was going to make sure that he got his half of everything that I had built in the business and anything that I was planning on building from that point on. And so I had to give it up. My lawyer told me the only way that we can, he went through all the stuff and was like, you set this up completely wrong. You protected yourself zero in this process. You didn't make it legit first, and all this other stuff. I got, learned my lesson. But I'm sitting there and he said, the only way that you can make sure that he doesn't take half of it and that you won't be paying him alimony. Yes, because my business was our nest egg. It was our savings. It was our fun bunny, because I did have a full-time gig anyway, and I was in corporate America still. And he said, you have to let it go. But it wasn't a huge problem to let it go, because honestly, I had been going through so much stress and trauma for an entire year that I had really let my customer outreach efforts wane. So I only had a couple of customers anyway, but I ultimately had to stop selling all of my services and just let my business die. And I was sitting on the floor in my living room with absolutely nothing. He had cleaned out our savings account. He had taken every single piece of furniture in the house because he wanted to argue about everything. We were standing there when there was a truck, and we were standing there arguing over CDs. So finally, CDs, y'all, CDs, you can't even use a damn CD nowadays. And I specifically said to him, just take anything that you want. I don't care. Take it all, And I was terrified in saying that. I was stubborn, but I was terrified in saying that because I didn't have anything. He had wiped us out. The attorneys had wiped us out. Fighting back and forth had wiped me out emotionally. And all I had was the bed that was in my son's room and his bed. That's all that was left. And the dining room table. Sorry, the dining room table was still there because he couldn't get it out of the kitchen. It was too big. So I was sitting on my living room floor, crying, bawling, feeling like I was an ultimate failure, realizing that I had failed at my marriage, that I had felt like I'd failed in life. I failed in business, and I felt like I was getting ready to fail my then 2-year-old son. And I swore to myself that I was never going to put myself in a situation again where I could not make sure that him and I were safe and were going to be protected regardless of anybody else in our lives. After I picked myself up off the floor for days and wine, and after all of that stuff, I decided to take a stance and to figure out how to restart my business. I knew that I could sell and make big money to rebuild our lives, to get new furniture, to get a new place to live, and to just start all over for me and him. But I was more determined than ever before in my life. And so I said, CP, this time you are going to do it the right way, and you're going to make sure that you've got all of your I's dotted and all of your T's crossed, so no one will ever, ever, ever again be able to take it away from you. And so I embarked upon educating myself. I grabbed my old college books, dusted them off, began really reading and paying attention, which was not really what I did sometimes when I was actually in college taking those classes. And I began to educate myself on anything and everything that could create and scale successful businesses. businesses. And I began researching and following and reading everything that came out of some of the most successful business minds of the time. And I realized that there were 4 things that all of the most successful businesses on the planet that were grown from the start, from scratch, from families and from the ground up had in common. There were 4 things. And granted, when you read the information, there's lots of different things that people tell you that they were doing, but I was able to take all of the information and kind of create a chart and categorize all of those things into 4 specific themes and 4 specific, just essential things that you have to master and know in order to grow a successful and scalable business. And I adopted those things and began to call them my 4S Freedom Framework. So let me describe to you what those 4 things are and how you master these. And my love, you will be able to take any idea that you have and any entrepreneurial passion that develops in your life and turn it into a profitable, scalable, multi-6-figure and 7-figure empire. And it will actually become fun just to start and grow businesses. Let's get into these things because I can't wait to share and tell you how they changed my life and actually helped me make sure that my son and I would be protected and have the lifestyle that I wanted us to have, and no one would ever be able to change it. Let's dive in. So the first element is you must have a strong business structure in place. Yes, you heard me, a structure. I already mentioned a little bit about this when I was sharing with you the abridged version of all the drama that was going on in my life at the time that I finally decided to pull up my big girl panties and start a real freaking business. And the structure was at the core of where I felt like I failed. When I'm talking about setting up a strong structure, I mean, which is, really what I do a lot of teaching about, is the basic foundation of creating the business structure that will allow you to facilitate the exchange of goods and services in your entrepreneurial journey. So that includes making sure that you have the correct legal entity structure, LLC or S Corp or C Corp or not-for-profit corporation, really truly understanding what those are and what's going to be the best structure for you to utilize. But not just choosing the business structure, but also what to put on the paperwork is also building a strong business structure. Understanding what the agent or who the agent is on that paperwork, and understanding what address you should put on that paperwork, what phone number you should put on that paperwork, what information you should put on that paperwork is all critical to protecting yourself and creating a strong business structure. You also have to make sure that you've got this professional identity established, right? Your office, your address, your business and professional email, your professional phone. That is at the core of really truly being able to get people to take you seriously and to get people to trust you as you build credibility in the market. And that's oftentimes a big problem for new entrepreneurs, right? Or for entrepreneurs in general. They haven't set up a professional identity. And with all the flakes and the quacks and the scammers out there, people are naturally kind of like, weary about moving forward with unknown brands or unknown people. And so the better and more professional your identity is, the further it will go in you creating and establishing that credibility so that you can move forward with building your customer base. You have to start somewhere, and you will not get anywhere. I don't care how much marketing you do and how much content you do and how much social media you do if you don't have a strong professional identity. So making sure you've got a true business address, a phone number, and an email that ends in your domain, a website, all of those things are going to be critical for building that strong structure. I also learned in that process of researching and being committed to changing mine and my son's life that having a financial structure in place will change the game for you. And I've talked about this in so many other videos, so I'm not going to get into it real detail right now, but a basic part of having that good business structure is creating your financial systems. And that includes your business bank account, because I had fucked up so bad. I messed up so bad and was literally losing and had to give up that initial business that I had built a really good, strong, solid customer base in. And I mean, so much so that it allowed me to not work and stay at home with my son until, I was ready for him to go to daycare or preschool. I mean, it created a great income for me. The fact that I used personal account money to do certain things in the business and that my ex-husband and I were on the same account created so many problems and my inability to truly prove that it was my business and my business alone. And I didn't even realize that I was kind of eliminating that corporate veil that we actually register our LLCs for. When you start mixing business and personal funds, it creates a whole hell of a lot of problems for you. And I didn't realize that until I really began to understand this 4S freedom framework. So a strong financial structure and a strong web presence, I think, are all the basics of creating that number one S, which is structure. So if you are still in creating this structure piece and this S piece, I need you to make a commitment to getting it done and getting it done right, unless you're playing. If you're playing with your business, you don't need to be watching this video, okay? Because I'm here to help entrepreneurs who really want to scale and grow and build, scalable entities. But the structure is going to be critical to what you can and cannot do and how you can and cannot grow into the future. Element number 2 in being able to really have a scalable business is you have to have real, actionable strategies. Yes, strategies is the second S in the 4S freedom framework. And I didn't really do a great job in my first business, the one that I had to give up due to my divorce, at creating great strategies. I was really winging it a lot. I was just like, I want to sell some consulting services and I can do all these things. So, whoever asked me to do something, if the money is right, I'll say yes and I'll just get it done. And I realized that I could do that, but I can only get so far financially in doing that. I can only get so far revenue generation by doing that. I was eventually going to get to a point where I was going to stall. And I did. I mean, I truly did. Like I said, if I would have had the correct strategies in place, I maybe would have been able to mitigate losing those customers. And I wasn't just winging it anymore. So I learned at that point that creating a game plan, putting a real true strategy in place, an annual strategy in place, was going to be a game changer for me. So that means that you've got to take the time to create that game plan and map out what you need and what you want to do. You have to map it out. Otherwise, you are going to be all over the place. You are going to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and you are going to be on this roller coaster or hamster wheel, constantly spinning and seeing no results. And that ultimately wastes money because you're still building your business. So you're trying to, make some money, and wasting it is not a part of the options, right? And you're going to just keep trying things and seeing if they stick and never really moving the needle. And then you're going to look back like I did 3 years into what I thought was a great business, realizing that I had to give it up or that it was going to go away. And so having those strategies are critical. And when I talk about strategies, I don't just mean like that growth plan strategy that I've been talking about in the last few weeks. Those are amazing as well. But I mean an operational strategy, a marketing strategy, your product and service strategy, and your sales and service strategies. You've really got to spend some time in the beginning doing that. That first business that I lost, I spent a ton of time creating a business plan, like this formal business plan that they tell you you're supposed to have on the internet. And I spent all this time like, I know how to do a business plan. I learned about business plans in graduate school, blah, 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 blah. And the reality was I never used that freaking plan. It actually did nothing for me, and I put it into a drawer. And so I didn't really understand the importance of and the difference between that business plan and a strategic plan, right? A strategy moving forward. So that second S was my second step. Once I got my structure set up, I sat down and created what I was going to do over the next 12 months in order to really get my customers back and hit some targets. And once I did that, oh my God, it changed the game. Things started moving like a well-oiled machine rapidly. And before I knew it, I was at the end of a year looking back saying, is this still my side gig or is this my full-time gig? Because I'm a lot happier and making the same money over here as I was over here in this job working for somebody else. And I had a lot more freedom and flexibility. So the second S, a must. Trust me. Get them strategies together, y'all. It's a game changer. Now, if you're vibing with me and you are feeling me and you feel like this is valuable, I just want to take a moment to ask you to go ahead and hit that like button for me and make sure that you subscribe and also share. All right, so let's get back into these next two elements because they are going to be a big deal for you as well. So, element number 3 in my 4S freedom framework and what I learned through that traumatic experience. And maybe one day I will get more in depth into what that was like and just share with you that journey and what it led to and how it got me to here today. But if you want to hear that, let me know in the comments below. If you really want me just to do a video about my story, I will absolutely do it. It'll take me some time to get up the guts, but I will do it for you guys. So let me know in the comments. But element number 3 is documented processes and systems are critical in order to scale. Yes. So once I had gotten the structure in place and I created that strategy, like I said, I just started kind of implementing the steps in the strategy, and I did. It started working. I was getting more customers again. I was able to kind of tweak things, figure out what my product and service mix was. I was being very strategic in how I was building this new business because, again, I was adamant that this was going to be a game changer for my son and I. And I realized that I could only go so far. So I reached a maximum capacity, 100%. I reached a maximum capacity in the amount of sales that I could actually tolerate, the volume that I could bring in. And I also reached my maximum capacity in my service delivery. And I was just, again, still kind of winging it. But over time, I had created kind of these step-by-step ways of getting things done. And I found that I kept repeating those step-by-step ways. And I eventually found, okay, so, this didn't work this time. So next time I'm going to implement this step. But I never really truly documented them, perfected them, and focused on making them the most effective and efficient that they could be. And after I did my research and I discovered these 4 elements that I'm sharing with you today, I knew that I had to build the processes and the systems in order to really truly grow, right? Because if you have processes and systems that allow you to become more efficient and do things faster, then you can handle more volume and you can handle more customer service volume. So you might get to a point, or you might be at a point in your business right now where you just can't take on anymore. And I would bet to believe if you were going to sit down with me for a whole day and have me say, look at your business and say where you needed to tweak things, I would guarantee you that you need to create documented processes. And I mean repeatable processes, because once you document them, you will be able to clearly see where the gaps are and where you can incorporate automations and tools and technology and people that will ultimately help you get to that next level and be able to, kind of bring in more volume. Because the name of the game when you are trying to grow your business and make more money is volume. And the reality of it is, yes, you could be trying to get to a 6-figure business, which means have your business hit $100,000 a year. But if you want to make $100,000 a year, your business is going to have to generate $200,000 a year. So you might be at 40 grand in your business with it being at 100,000. Being paid, or maybe even 25 grand, just depending upon what your business is. But in order for you to get to earning the $100,000 so that your business can actually get to that next level, means that you have to increase your volume. And the only way that you can do that is by creating repeatable systems and systems and processes in your business that will allow you to be able to scale. You can't increase your service volume. You can't take care of your customers. And if you can't take care of your customers, they're not going to keep coming back for more. They're going to have a horrible customer experience. And if they have a horrible customer experience, they're not going to refer anybody to you. So your referrals will absolutely suck, which means that you are constantly out there grinding for sales. Processes eliminates all of those problems. Trust me, I need you to wrap your mind around the fact that all of the strongest businesses throughout history, the Fords, the McDonald's throughout history, the ones that have had the longest longevity, have basic step-by-step repeatable processes going on, right? They've got those lines, they've got those people, they've got those structures. A McDonald's cheeseburger is the same cheeseburger at every single McDonald's, which is why you can just have a McDonald's pop up and grow, because you've got the processes down from the first first McDonald's and now you're just selling it to the other McDonald's, right? When people buy your business, they buy your entire business, the capacity, the processes, everything. So you cannot build volume without processes. And you also can't implement element number 4 without processes, which basically is what we're going to talk about now. And element number 4 that you have to have in order to scale your business is a capable, well-equipped squad that is the only way that you can ultimately scale your squad. So that's the 4th S and the 4S freedom framework. Your squad, your team, your employees, your staff. You got to have that. There isn't a business out there that can go to multiple 6 figures or to 7 figures without a team in place. You hear what I said? You might be able to get $200,000. You might even be able to get to $200,000. You're going to be exhausted though and working a whole lot of hours if you're at 200,000 and you're still a solopreneur. But you will never get to $500,000, 600, $250,000, or $1 million in revenue if you don't have the perfect squad. And how you get that perfect squad even goes back to element number 3, right? You got to have systems in place. When I say capable and well-equipped, that means that it's not just about finding team members that have the skills that you're looking for. It's also you as a leader being able to provide them with the tools, the training, and the equipment that they need in order to grow into their success at your organization. So the squad is absolutely mandatory. You have to stop with this idea that you can do everything on your own and that you don't have to pay somebody else to do it. That is small-minded. That is not a CEO mindset. And if you're serious about growing beyond the basic $100,000 in revenue business into multiple 6 figures and 7 figures, that CEO mindset is absolutely a must. And having the perfect squad surrounding you, the people who have the skills and that fill the gaps that you don't have, is absolutely critical. You might be able to do 6 figures, and I say might because I don't even know if you could really get to 100,000 without a team, but never to multiple 6 figures, and never ever to 7 figures unless you have a squad. Trust me, a squad. Need it. Can't scale without it. Promise. So you see, this 4S freedom framework is the pillar for everything that I do in my own business. Everything is surrounding these 4 S's. That is where I spend my operational and business building, working on my business time. The strategies, the structure, the systems and processes, and the squad, the 4 S's. And that's also the basis and the framework for all of the services that I provide. As a coach, as a consultant, as an online digital course creator for my students, everything. Yes, if you master these 4 things, trust me, you make sure that they are implemented well in your business. So if you master these and make sure that these are a basic part of your business, it will be impossible for you not to scale to the highest heights of your entrepreneurial dreams. Trust me. So again, if you enjoyed today's video and you found this content valuable, make sure that you like and subscribe before you leave out. Make sure if you don't follow me on other channels, you do at Cheryl C. Perez on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all that good stuff. And until next time, my loves, I can't wait to see you next week. We're going to get into the structure time, y'all. It's time to talk about structure. So I will see you then. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and stay safe. Bye-bye. Mwah!